No, local recording is good.
Oh, okay.
And we're live.
We're live. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, the 10 Cent Menu podcast.
Yes.
It's a
Our
whole
first
new
one.
year, a whole new strategy of topics.
Yeah. Excited.
Jenny, you said before that you wanted to warm up, but you wanted to warm up after we went live.
well, I mean, what's new with you? How has your New Year been so far? The first 11 days of January.
Well, every day has been good,
Okay.
productive. We have our plan for the new year,
Yes.
and we're executing, and we got all of our resolutions are still in effect. They haven't worn off yet, so we'll see how
2
long.
weeks into the year, we're still
Exactly.
we're still on point.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so today, well, before we get into it, we have our new segment for 2023, which is share something. Um,
Share something.
Share something that has happened that's good news or exciting or something. So, what is something that has happened in your world that is
Uh, well, I have this new chair that I'm sitting on. It's
nice?
my new at-home office chair, which is very comfortable. It was a
Nice.
gift from you, so you know that, but not everybody else does.
I
I
am.
was I was I was working with a pretty rough uh, chair before, so it's
Yeah. I don't know how you got anything done in that old chair,
yeah, it was
but
loud and uncomfortable.
for me, I got for my home setup here. I got a bunch of I have three big computer monitors now. I used to just have the laptop, and that's exciting because I feel like I can get a lot more done,
Yeah,
and I don't think I could ever go back because I got everything set up the way I want to and ready to get work done.
yeah. What nerds are we? What's the most exciting thing that happened this year so far? Well, I'll
Yeah.
tell you.
What are you gonna do? When you're a nerd, you're a nerd. What are you gonna do? All right. So today we're talking about um, specialty menu concepts for specifically for Valentine's Day and Super Bowl that are coming up around the corner. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to approach these holidays based on your restaurant concept. The concept is not necessarily the same for every type of restaurant. So knowing who you are and how to approach the holiday is first and foremost. So positioning yourself, and then we're going to go through some examples of what we've seen other restaurants do that have been successful. Hopefully, help you as restaurant owners get the wheels spinning, take elements of different strategies that you're hearing and apply them to your specific customer base, and figure out how the best way to monetize these two holidays that historically people have they spend money during these
Right.
holidays. So
And really, sorry, primarily focusing on the in-store branding, the menu, and what you can do in the physical world, not just focusing in the digital space, but
sure,
um, you
that's a
know,
good point. I mean, obviously you have your social media and your advertising and your performance marketing type stuff, which is key, right? You can't really live without that stuff. But what we're talking about is how to market to the people that are already inside the restaurant, how to promote these things to your warmest leads, which are the existing customers.
mm,
So that's what we're going to go over today, um, and let's kick it off.
sure, yeah,
Market positioning.
right. So first things first, I think it's important for restaurants to identify themselves as, who are you? And not only who are you, but who is your customer? And I think that's kind of more of an important factor to take into account is, if you're planning on doing, some sort of special for Valentine's Day or Super Bowl, in what way are you going to be promoting it and positioning yourself, and what's the item, what's the product that you're selling on that day? um, I mean, Super Bowl and Valentine's Day are two very different things with two very different sort of customers looking for a different experience. So I think, whether you're doing both or one or the other, the first thing you should ask yourself is, how do people identify the restaurant, and what can I provide to them that will stay on brand and really meet their expectations for what they want to experience, for that event or holiday.
Yeah, I think you gotta tap into all of the notoriety that you have within your geographical area and within your customer base. You have the perception of you that your customer has. So you need to tap into what that perception is. If you try to do something that you're not and be something that you're not, and that doesn't resonate with the perception of what the customer has of you, you could have, you're not positioning yourself the right way. And an example could be like if Domino's, all of a sudden has like steak dinner for two, right?
Mhm.
So if I if I brought my girlfriend to Domino's for Valentine's Day, that would be the end of the relationship, right?
Unless she
You
was
want
a huge Domino's fan. There's
right, yeah.
exceptions. There's always an exception to the rule.
Domino's, yeah. But it makes no sense for Domino's to take the time and the energy and the resources to promote something like dinner for two, inside the restaurant. But a high-end steakhouse or a seafood or Italian place, of course, yeah. I mean, this is where this is the places that people are going to think of, for that
Mhm.
type of event.
Right,
Super
right.
Bowl, you're in Valentine or Domino's all day, right? Let's grab some
Mhm.
pies, grab some sodas, and
Yeah.
you know, so, so you might want to focus on, not that I'm telling how Domino's how to promote, but they would focus more on Super Bowl as opposed to Valentine's Day because that's more of their money making day. So that's kind of like the extremes. If you're more of like your traditional American fare, restaurant, it may not be as much of an extreme, and you might need to really sit and think about how you want to position yourself um, for the different holidays. And
Yeah.
that's key in having a successful campaign, promoting a successful strategy inside the store.
Mhm. Right. So starting with Valentine's Day, I think we can probably, start working through a couple examples that we've seen in our history of working with restaurants and, different concepts and ideas. A very popular one for, the high end steakhouse or Italian restaurant, or those more intimate settings, would be like a price fix dinner. Um, and something to also note about Valentine's Day, which is interesting, is that for that type of restaurant, for the high end, Italian restaurant, that maybe during the week you're not very busy, is a really great opportunity for you to promote, the holiday as the special dinner for two, or even
Mhm.
if you're doing a family friendly dinner event, for Valentine's Day. I think this year it lands on a Tuesday. So if promote this, $40 dinner for two plus a bottle of wine is, um, it could be a really good way to get people in the door and pack out a restaurant on a normally not a very busy night. Um,
Yeah, and I think like Valentine's Day is a day that it's an occasion, depending on what your situation is and whether or not you celebrate it, but it's an occasion. So a pre-fee or price fix menu is something that allows you to have a more standardized menu that you can charge more of a premium for because people are going to come out anyway. In their heads, in their minds, they are prepared to spend money on this day. They're
mhm,
prepared to have a nice dinner. So you can use that as an opportunity to create a standardized menu with limited options that will help you prep and be more profitable in the kitchen, and also put out a more or make sure that you're putting out a product that is the same every time, right? Because you're not doing all these different things, and people are happy to come in and pay it because it is an occasion. So, a price fix menu is a really great way to promote this date night, and it's a traditional Valentine's Day type of concept.
mhm. And it's also, I think, probably easier for the restaurant to, um, to produce, if you have a set number of items and you can choose maybe the most popular items on your menu on a normal night, create a menu. You really don't have to reduce the cost of it. You can just add everything up and then even round up. It's really the ease of, the customer's use of ordering that, you know, each course that they'll pay that price. They're not going to nickel and dime you. They're really out for the experience. But even if a restaurant doesn't want to do the price fix, or pre-fee model, they can just have their regular menu, but really just start promoting early, making reservations for that night. You know, during the holidays, and most restaurants do get busy around the holidays, whether people are just coming in for gift certificates or coming in to dine because they're out shopping all day. Be a great time to start, get the thought in their head, oh, don't forget Valentine's Day is around the corner. Call us to make a reservation, or taking reservations starting in January, something like that, that could at least get them thinking of, oh, okay, you know what? Like, I know they're doing, that's a really fancy spot. It's really romantic. I know that we'll have a good time. Um, and for that type of Valentine's Day, I think more so than Super Bowl is, it's a night where it for a couple, and there's obviously like the single people out there, um, which I am one. So I'm speaking for both here. But uh, when you're in a couple, you want to take your significant other out to eat. You want it to be a romantic evening. You want to know what you're getting. And so a lot of people won't try something new, I think, when they're going out to eat for Valentine's Day, because there's too much risk there. I mean, unless it's a very high rated spot, um, you're you're probably more you'll probably see better results if you're marketing to people that have already experienced dining with you, than trying to market to a different crowd.
Yeah, and I I also love the psychology around it. I remember I went when I was seeing this girl. I went to a place. It was really expensive, and it was a place that she liked. I don't think I'd ever been there before. And we walk in and we sit down, and there's this price fixed menu, and I think it was expensive. I thought it was very expensive at the time, but the psychology of it. If this is where she wants to go, and I'm her boyfriend, and I'm the one paying, what am I going to get up and leave? What am I going to fight with the waiter about the cost? I'm going to pay whatever it is, right? Because it's Valentine's Day. So, not that I'm saying you should charge whatever you want, but you can charge a premium for the special day. Not to mention, if you are that high end place, or you are that destination place, you only have a limited amount of tables. So you want to get the most out of each seat on this day. So reservations, I think, obviously is a no-brainer, but also make sure that you're charging enough for that seat for that day, because that'll be the best Tuesday you ever had in revenue. Don't let people, split fries and a pitcher of beer. Tell them how it works, and if they're in there, they will pay it, because of the psychology of, you know, I always say that Valentine's Day, my experience as a man, you can only lose ground on Valentine's Day. You can't really gain ground, right? Because what Valentine's Day forces you to do is show how much you care about your girlfriend, and
Or
you
wife or
like
significant
err on
other.
the side of like, this is, I care about you a lot. We're not gonna go to Applebee's, like, So you always want to be safe, play it safe. We'll go to the nice place and we'll spend a lot of money. So you can tap into the psychology, and people will pay whatever it is. In my experience.
Yeah. But I mean, there's also some unique things that you can do, to cater to, maybe something more family friendly. Daddy daughter, mother son, or bring the kids out. I mean, that's obviously a different sort of restaurant. You're not going to be, bringing like a giant family with a lot of young children to a high end steakhouse. I mean, unless they're very well behaved, but most of the time that's not the case. Um, or even for single people that are unattached, and maybe Valentine's Day they don't even think about. Maybe you want to do an event to make those people think about it, maybe a singles crawl or a singles night, or some sort of special to bring those that demographic in on a night that maybe normally wouldn't be a busy night for you. And that's also something. If you're the high end steakhouse, you're probably not going to go that route. You're going to go with that price fix romantic dinner. But if you're a local, craft cocktail spot or a bar, gastropub or sports bar, something like that, like where the atmosphere is a little bit more casual. I think that's a great way to get people in the door, just for a good time and to meet people. Um,
Yeah, I
and
think the daddy daughter mother son thing is awesome because it's different. Um, and if you are the high end place with the reservations, people are going to come out. Assuming Valentine's Day is on a weekend, people are going to come out for dinner. You could do a brunch. In fact, you don't even have to do it on Valentine's Day. You could do it the Sunday before. I think you'll still get traction with that. It's different. It's interesting. If I surprised my mom with a brunch, a mother son brunch, she would be pleased, right? It would be a really cool way to approach the holiday. Um, and then with the lonely heart singles thing, yeah, I mean, I helped run a singles crawl a bunch of years ago, and we took the 7 or 8 restaurants that were in town that were not the high end Italian, or steakhouse type seafood places, and we strung them all together into this crawl. And you had like a green bracelet if you were single, and a red bracelet if you weren't looking. And we all the different restaurants promoted it, and you got a free drink at each place, and it was like a singles ball. And that was just a real fun way to approach the holiday without having to try to be something that you're not. So more divey bars and pubs and things like that would be a great solution for you.
yeah, yeah, just a good night out and a good source again of revenue on a night that might typically be slower for most restaurants.
Sure.
Yeah. So now the opposite, almost the opposite of the romantic Valentine's Day concept is the Super Bowl, and they happen to be usually within a week of each other. So pretty relevant, just in terms of timing, seasonality. Uh, so Super Bowl's fun.
Yes.
Definitely a different target, different restaurant type of restaurant are going to be promoting these types of specials.
Yeah, I think if you're going to promote Super Bowl, you have to think. There's really two types of concepts here. There's takeout and delivery, people that are hosting and having a party and want wings and pizza and whatever it may be. And then there's people that want to come and watch the game. So
Hmm.
I almost look at those as two different strategies. The takeout strategy, catering packages, for 6, 8, 12 people, a bunch of pies, bunch of wings, right? There's not a lot
I mean, that's
to
yeah.
to reinvent there.
I mean,
You
it's
know?
perfect for like the fast casual type of place to promote that special, on an ongoing basis, and very relatively easy. I mean, you could, if you're typically a takeout place anyway, start promoting that, throw an insert in the takeout bag starting a month before, and people, try to get people to place their orders early so that you'll be able to facilitate the orders if it's high volume and things like that.
Yeah, you could promote in the restaurant, in the weeks leading up,
Hmm.
people that may want to cater on on Super Bowl. So it doesn't. So just because they're catering on Super Bowl doesn't mean that they're not going to your restaurant leading up to Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other way about it is like, how do you get people into your restaurant to watch the Super Bowl? And you know, there's definitely a demographic for that. If obviously if you're the sports bar, if you have TVs, but I think there's the Super Bowl is the number one watched thing in the country, so people can go anywhere and watch the game. So why would they come to your restaurant to watch the game? So I think like contests, Super Bowl boxes, um, raffles, get a free shot if somebody scores a touchdown as long as you're wearing a jersey. Start to create some sort of like culture cheerleading type vibe.
Hmm.
You know, uh,
Wing eating contest.
yeah, wing eating contests, halftime specials, only during the halftime show. And I think, just make it cool, make it interesting, make it interactive.
Hmm.
And I think the same way that a Super Bowl pool if someone buys a box in the Super Bowl, all of a sudden now they're interested in the game and they want to watch the game. You can apply that to your restaurant. If there's certain
Oh
contests,
yeah,
raffles, or prizes, they're going to be more engaged and interested in the game because there is something that relates to them personally.
absolutely. Especially if you're doing a giveaway, like get this free lawnmower if your box hits. They're not going to want to leave the restaurant. They're probably going to stay the entirety of the game, and the longer they stay, the more they order. So I mean, it really, I mean, giving money away is one thing. They can come back to get it, but that the glory that you feel if you win a prize and get to walk out with it. I mean, I think that's something different.
Yeah, and that becomes like content you can use to promote. You take a
Hmm.
picture of the person that won the surfboard, or whatever, and post it on social and tag. Now you're creating like a experience, digital experience, and like wow, that's
Right.
miss that. I should next year maybe go there and check that place out because it sounds like they're doing a lot of fun stuff.
Right, right. Yeah, and that's an important thing too to remember. If you do an event for either Super Bowl or Valentine's Day, um, take pictures of the day. Because especially if it's your first time running an event like this, you want to be able to. It might not hit the first year. People might not know that you're the place to go for Valentine's Day price picks or the Lonely Hearts Night or game day specials on Super Bowl. Uh, but if you get the content of it now, then you have an arsenal for promotions next year when you want to promote the event again. It's all about consistency and repetition.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And so many times we've dealt with restaurants that want to promote, specifically for an event, chocolate covered strawberries or something, and I say, well, do you have any pictures of your chocolate covered strawberries? No. Okay, well, are you going to get any? Well, they have to be fresh, so they're only going to be available that weekend. So we can't promote this year the chocolate covered strawberries. So make sure you get pictures this year so that this time next year we're not having the same conversation.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of people think short term and they think in the next 3, 4, 5 weeks, but really capitalize on the stuff that you're doing. If this year's promotion falls on its face, at least use it as a way to generate an enormous amount of content so that you can start promoting earlier next year and get the word out because
Right.
that's most of the time why these things don't work is the word doesn't get out.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Got to start building that arsenal, a database of just the content that you can use. I mean, and obviously, like you take pictures of Valentine's Day of the night. You're not going to be able to use it for that year because it's already happened. But uh, you know, you save it, you and you have some place to go next year when you're starting to think about running those same specials again.
Yeah. And I think when it really takes off is when you have like a proprietary concept for that occasion that everyone knows you for.
Hmm.
Then you're just known as that place. But that's not going to happen on year one, year two, year three. So it's all that more important to make sure that you position yourself properly. You have the right promotion and you stick to it year after
Yeah.
year because it will build momentum and then it'll just be self sustaining. It'll be the place that everyone knows to go to for that specific reason.
Right, right. And then, I mean, once you get that night, you get a handle on a night like that, and you do build momentum, it's a great opportunity to launch other nights, to launch new promotions. Because once you have traction for one event that you do really well, people are going to be interested in what else you got going on, what else can you do, or what other event do you have throughout the year or special,
Yeah.
uh, you know.
Yeah, I think a lot of people jump from event to event, and they just chalk it up as a failure if they weren't profitable, that year. But you have to look at the long game. People need to see this 20, 30 times. So if you're not going to aggressively promote it in the 4, 5, 6 weeks leading up, then you're going to have to build the equity over time,
Mhm.
and that's going to take a while.
Yeah, but if you do it well, then it just becomes less effort over time.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of transitions to our last point is like how and when to promote. And
Mhm.
again, we're assuming that social media and digital stuff is a huge part of what you're doing. It absolutely has to be. There's an enormous amount of attention there. So any successful event that you want to roll out obviously has to include that. But what we're focusing on here is the often overlooked strategy of in-store. People are coming into your restaurant on a consistent basis, just to have dinner and just to hang out. And this is warm leads. These are people that are maybe regulars that maybe are having a great experience, and you could market to them in store, and
Right.
they're more likely, I think, to convert into a customer on that day than say someone who's never heard of you on social media.
Yeah. People need to see something over and over and over again for it to really stick, unless they're actively looking for that something to do for that day or event. Um, so I think that it is important in-store branding. I mean, as early as you can get it. I mean, obviously, don't start promoting Valentine's Day in the summer, but once the fall, once the weather starts turning, slap a poster up, slap a couple up, put some in the bathroom, put some out in the dining room. If you can, um, just hey, we have a special dinner for two. Think about your reservation. Make a reservation now. We're taking reservations starting in January. Don't miss out. Um, and then, they might not act at that moment, but I think that a lot of the time we'll have a recall of when you start thinking about the day, and when you start thinking about the day, it's probably going to be a lot closer to the day. It'll probably be a week or two before, but you might remember that poster that you saw, and then that at that time you go onto the digital space, you go onto their website or you go onto their social media to see the details of the special. But it was all triggered because of the in-store promotions that were happening that they're recalling later.
Yeah, and I think like in this world of short attention spans and people scrolling through in 2 3 seconds and you're trying to grab their attention in the restaurant, imagine someone goes out to eat and on the table in front of them, for an hour and a half, 2 hours, is this promotion. They're not staring at it the whole time, but it's in front of them for 60 to 90 minutes.
Hmm.
So it's a totally different type of marketing. Um, you know, People are gonna look at that, and if the conversation comes up, what are you doing for Sarah for Valentine's Day? Well, I could do this. I could
Hmm.
here. She likes this place. You know, just like
Yeah,
A-frames in the front, people walking by.
yeah.
Like in more urban areas, people walk by the same area every day if they're going to
Hmm.
the subway or they're walking to work or walking to the parking lot. So the repetition, people can see on A-frames and window clings and posters. Obviously bathroom posters. I think on the bar, like
Hmm.
table tents on the bar are great. Posters behind the bar, check
Yeah.
presenters when they get the check. These are all ways to kind of remind people of what's happening, and it's a nominal cost compared to running a full-fledged Facebook ad campaign,
Oh, yeah. And
right?
it's tremendous value marketing to customers that have already experienced your restaurant. I mean, they're there and they're more likely to come back if they have a good experience, instead of marketing to cold prospects who have never been to your place. You have a higher hurdle to jump in that case than you do targeting people that are already sitting and have already dined with you and experienced your venue.
Right. And with the table tent example, you only have to pay for that impression once. If we're using digital terminology, right? You're
Hmm.
paying impressions, cost per thousand, right? You just pay to get it on the table and it sits there, and it's a totally different thing because for 60 to 90 minutes you have an existing customer staring at it as opposed to 1 to 2 seconds having someone who no idea who you are scroll through.
Yeah.
So often overlooked, and I think it can be extremely effective. And if you look at like any of the big boys, like the chains and the franchises, and the big corporate places, this is what they do. They're constantly marketing to you on the table and in the menus with table tents and posters and A-frames, and that's so if it works for them, it'll work for you as well.
Right, right. You're just targeting that captive audience already there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So yeah, just to recap,
Mhm.
know who you are first. right? Don't
Know
waste
yourself.
know yourself. Don't waste time and money promoting something that's not on brand and not consistent with how you're perceived by your customer,
Yeah.
right? Um,
Hmm.
Stick with it. Don't just try it one year and then chalk it up as a failure. People need to see this year over year, build equity in the event,
Yeah.
and don't overlook your in-store branding and your promotional products because it's a nominal cost compared to a digital advertising campaign, and it's a targeted outreach to existing customers that already know who you are and are already spending money with you.
Hmm. Yep. And you made a good point too. I mean, to go back just quick, but with the A-frames, I mean, those might not be people that have gone come inside, but if you have people that are walking past it on a regular basis, obviously they're local, they're in the neighborhood. So it's a great way to get people into the restaurant, maybe that haven't actually been inside, but no, you're just you're perfectly placed for them to, try and experience, your restaurant.
Yeah,
Restaurant.
especially quick story about A-frames. I I delivered A-frames to a customer, and I put them in, and we just rolled them out. And I was hanging out there at the restaurant chatting, and this was in like a downtown area where there's like 30 or 40 restaurants, and in an area like that, people might not come to your restaurant as much as they're coming to the town or the village. And say,
Mhm.
let's go down there, let's walk around, let's see what feels right. Let's pop our heads in a few places and if we like a certain vibe, then we'll go in. So that's where an A-frame, or a street talker can really help. So I watched these two young girls in their 20s walk up to the A-frame, and they stood there and they stared at the promotion, and they didn't know that I was looking at them, but they stared at the promotion. Then they looked in the restaurant. Then they looked at each other and they nodded, yeah, and then they walked in. Never seen, it never really works that way. I mean, we know this stuff works, but it's not like we can map the attribution to the amount of people that have these moments. I just
Mhm.
catch this moment, and then I went to myself, yeah, I guess A-frames work. You know, so you
Yeah,
never know how it's going to work, but it's definitely effective for sure.
yeah. You never expect it to work like that, as
Yeah,
good as that, but when it does, it's gratifying.
exactly, exactly. And I'm sure whatever uh, those those girls spent, probably covered the cost to produce the A-frame. Just those two,
Yeah,
right? So now you're in the black, and
yeah,
you go from
yeah,
there.
exactly. So, yeah, just start
All
keeping it
right.
in mind.
So until next time,
Until next time,
10 Cent Menu Podcast.
yeah, we're out.
We're out.